Welcome to our pilgrimage of hope. My name is Dominique Heffes-Doon, and it gives me great joy to journey with you during this Holy Jubilee year. April is the month of those with special needs, and it is the Jubilee of people with disabilities. And we're so excited today to welcome Saira Foucade, and I'm particularly excited to have you here, Saira. Saira is the head of the Bethesda community, which is the community that deals with special needs persons within our Catholic faith. Welcome, Saira.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here today.
Well, Saira, as you know, both of us are mothers of children with special needs. So this is something that I think has to be brought to light more. It has to be brought. Our stories need to be celebrated, because these are families that need hope.
Oh,
you know,
yes, certainly.
Being a caregiver yourself, can you tell us about how you came to developing and really pioneering the Bethesda community?
Okay. Thank you. So you threw me back 10 years, because we started in 2015. When my son was diagnosed, or shortly after, is when his severe behavioral issues started arising. So taking him to church, I was put out on eventually four separate occasions. Wow. And, my mother was telling me, Saira, you need to do something. So I stopped going to church for a while. And then my sisters told me, but how could you not go to church? Mm-hmm. You understand? You need to do something. And at least you go, even if the child can't go. So for a long while I was going without him, but every time I went to Mass without him, I just felt that space in my heart, and I knew it wasn't right. When Archbishop Harris was appointed, he was my parish priest for 15 years at Aruka, so I had a very good relationship. Have a very good relationship with him. So I immediately got in contact with him, and he listened to me. I mean, he really just sat down and he told me, I would have never thought of something like this unless it came from a mother. And I know that you will do the best that you could. Get a priest to champion the cause with you, and let's go ahead. And he offered use of the space at the Archbishop House, the chapel there, because he wasn't sure who would have already come. So we started off, and we had 50 people at first day at Archbishop House. Wow. Within 3 months, we outgrew Archbishop House, and Father Dexter Braithen, who is our champion priest, he's in Canada, he's still championing for us across there. He was assigned to Aruka, which is my home parish. So I told Father, perfect. So we started there, and by the December of that year, we came up with the name Bethesda for persons with disabilities. So we have been growing. So now we have 3 masses, every second Sunday in Aruka, every third Sunday in Couva, and now every fourth Sunday at Belmont. All our masses at 11 a.m. So in this way, families can come, even though my son will still rock and sing and want to walk around, do whatever. And he's a big boy, so when he was younger, it might look kind of cute. I mean, we were put out of church with the behavior, but it was still kind of cute. Not he's big, that's not welcoming. And in fact, it would be even counter-conducive to Mass having a big child like that walking around. So Bethesda provides the space to allow children like him and adults, because we do have adults that come as well, to have a safe, secure, sensory environment suited to their needs.
That's fantastic. And I think you've raised a really important point here. So obviously the Jubilee is associated with hope. Yes. And not being able to attend Mass every week, we can become a little despondent. Yes. I'm sure, as you said, it had an impact. Your family spoke to you, but then you felt as though you wanted to include your son in this. Yes. And I think that's such a beautiful and critical thing to do. We're all, once we have life, we have purpose with Christ, not so? So each and every single one of these children have a purpose under God. Oh, yes. And for them to get that spiritual nourishment is critical. Yes. So as we bring it back to hope, being able to attend Mass, within a context that is sensory, that is appropriate at a sensory level is so important. Now, you and I both know intimately that being a caregiver is difficult.
Oh, yes.
And also being a sibling of somebody with special needs is also very difficult. How can we bring hope, and how does the Bethesda community bring support to these groups?
Thank you so very much for opening that, because we only last month launched our parent and sibling support. As one of the siblings told me, siblings have a longer lifetime relationship with the person with a disability in their family.
That's right.
So, and they might eventually be the future caregivers of their sibling with a disability. So over the years, I was able to observe the families that I felt were thriving better and not just struggling to survive.
Yeah.
And I realized that there were a couple of key points. One, their siblings had gone through the sibling support that was done by CKFTO many years ago. It actually stopped about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So these are young persons who did it at 5, 6, 7, up to I think 13. And these families were all rooted in faith. So certainly you saw these siblings doing well, becoming occupational therapists, dietitians.
My word, that's
really
amazing.
Succeeding,
yes.
you know. So that's why I said they were succeeding. So I was able to look back and say, what is happening? What is the key difference? And when I realized that they all went through the sibling support, I said, you know what? And the parents went to parent support groups. We are going to do the same. And I'm so happy that the Life Center at Cascade Community have agreed for us to use their space.
That's
so
amazing.
Their parents will also benefit. So we're going to have every 4th Saturday from 4 to 6 at the Life Center, both a sibling support group and a parent support group, so that we can give hope to our families to know that they have support, that we'll have people who understand their situation and who they can journey with as well.
And you know, you said something there that I think is actually critical to highlight, that need for faith, but also the fact that these siblings years ago went through this program.
Oh, yes.
And that has given them purpose.
Yes, very much so.
Which is incredible. And it goes back to our shared point just now, that once you have life, once you have life under God, you have purpose.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And these siblings have found purpose. And, you know, created supportive communities at a family level.
At a family level.
And, you know,
it's sending to the community as well. So they're not just taking care of their person with a disability, but they have now chosen careers where they can support other persons with disabilities.
If that's not God's love and work, I don't know what is.
Certainly.
How incredible. You know, I think it's important to say, because Trinidad and Tobago, you know, we don't necessarily have the resources to support persons with special needs in our communities. Certainly, we know that the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health struggle to give the kind of care that is genuinely needed. So how do you think, you know, and again, as we both know intimately, to get the right care can sometimes be very expensive.
Yes.
And I think that's where the Catholic Church really has helped a lot of families. You know, just if, for example, that program that's being offered, that you're restarting for siblings and parents. But in terms of schooling, in terms of education, you know, where would you like to see growth within the Bethesda community, or what do we have in the Bethesda community currently that could support there?
So the first thing is that our parent support and sibling support is free. Fantastic. So we are providing this support free. The challenge will be to reach Cascade. Okay? Within Bethesda, we provide specially adapted First Communion and Confirmation programs to allow our persons the opportunity to receive the sacrament. I think a lot of families felt that without at least receiving Jesus, their sibling, their person was missing something. And they all feel that, well, at least getting Jesus, then they know their child will get to heaven. Even though I think they're already there.
Yeah,
we are the ones who have to struggle to reach,
right.
But they're already there. So that provides that hope that their child will be taken care of even when they go. Education-wise, we are not going there, but we are trying to provide support in terms of care and how to take care of not just the person with a disability, but also yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you would not be able to take care of the person afterwards. So we are launching a respite care program, which will be besides the special friendly days, sensory-friendly days, to allow parents to drop off their kids to get a break, we are also opening eventually a respite center, which through the Eternal Light community, they have blessed us with a house. The house has to do a lot of retrofitting to make it suitable to allow persons with disabilities, and not just a ramp, but also some reinforcement needs to be done. But certainly, the idea is to be able to provide parent counseling, specifically suited to our needs, because going to a counselor who doesn't understand your situation sometimes can be even more frustrating, because they will tell you things like, well, you know, maybe the child should be doing X and Y, but the child can't do X and Y, you know, so you need to have someone who understands your situation. So we want to provide that sort of counseling and sort of support, and to provide a space where families can take their person with a disability, adults mainly, because right now there are a few schools and different centers that have opened up, and I'm so happy to see that.
Yes.
It's not enough, but we are seeing more open up all over.
Because need is there.
The need is there, but there is nothing for adults.
Yes.
So the Archbishop did tell me that he wants us to focus on care for adults. So this is not just me making this decision, it is by the guidance of the Archbishop for us to focus on adults. So he has blessed us with 10 acres of land, which is why we became an NGO. Now with COVID and all the challenges and so on, we can't reach that stage yet, which is why we have kind of pivoted from long-term care to temporary care, and that's why we're going to be starting the Respite Center.
That's amazing, because I think you've actually, again, touched on a very key point there. What is going to happen to my child when I move on?
So that is the question, because when I met with His Grace after he became Archbishop, he asked me, what is the main question that keeps our parents at night? What is the main concern that keeps coming back to you over and over again? And that was the question.
Yes, it is.
What's going to happen to my child when I die?
That's right.
So the purpose of this group home is not to send someone. It is specifically for when parents pass on, that they will have somewhere to take care of them. But that's why we also provide the respite. So respite is temporary care, so that we can have them, let them get accustomed to us, build a relationship, and eventually, when the parents move on, they'll have somewhere safe for them. So we're going to be doing both temporary care and long-term care.
I think that's, again, really visionary. That's the way I would use to describe it, because we don't necessarily have the data here, local data here in Trinidad and Tobago. No. But, for example, I know that in the UK, there is great concern because they found that 80% of adults on the spectrum are not in gainful employment.
No.
And we know from a social justice, a Catholic social justice perspective, that the dignity of the human person is core. And the dignity of anybody, but in particular those with special needs, is highly important. So having them find that purpose for their lives, having them work, you know, and support and have an independent life, so they're not a burden to their families, they're not a burden to society, but can be well integrated. I think that is so critical for the harmonization of our society.
So our Archbishop also, when he studied in Belgium, he did a stint at Lash where he would do like volunteer service. So he saw that model. So that's the model that he wants us to implement in Trinidad, a similar system where it's not just taking care of them, but where they can have something to do, whether it is farming. And I think that's why they gave us the land in Todd's Road. So there's a lot of space, there's a lot of greenways, it's fertile land, so that we can plant if needs be, and to just have the opportunity for them to do something in the space. So it's not just that we're going to create this space and they're going to sit down and they do nothing whole day.
That's right.
It is to provide that opportunity where they can live a really dignified life.
Amen. I think that's so incredible and over needed, not only within our context, but within the region. So it would be exciting to see if Bethesda community could actually build a model that can be replicated throughout the islands.
Isn't that a dream?
I think we've just birthed the dream. Saira, fantastic. Now we know April is Autism Awareness Month. And you're wearing your pin, and I'm wearing my pin. And I just wanted to ask, what sort of activities does Bethesda have this month going on?
So I want to mention our pilgrimage to Jubilee. I mean, we can't come here and talk about the pilgrimage.
Awesome.
So Pope Francis, who is also awesome and so inclusive to families of persons with disabilities, has actually assigned the 28th of April across the world, and they are having a big pilgrimage on the 28th of April, which happens to be elections, so we can use that day. So we are actually going on the 24th.
Okay.
It works out well, everything just works out well. We have a lot of student volunteers. The 28th is also going to be school starting.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, it worked out better, so we can get our student volunteers to go with us on the 24th of April. We have selected Assumption Church.
Okay.
Now, it will only be one pilgrimage. It will be too difficult to really coordinate, taking a big group to all the churches. In talking to parents, most of them told me that they were going, but they were not taking their person with a disability. They didn't think it would have been accommodating. They didn't think it would have been suitable because, I mean, they're taking the child to strange places, which, you know, that familiarization is quite a challenge.
That's right.
So Assumption has really welcomed us. So we are going to be
And of course, Assumption is one of our secret sites.
It is, so we're going to the sacred site at Assumption, and we are going to have a sensory-friendly mass at 10 o'clock with Father Martin Sergio. And after that, we're going to take our persons out. Some will go in the parish hall because we won't take them all at the same time. And then we're actually going to walk through the doors where we have some students from Sawa North, the drama team, and they are going to describe in a, well, not too dramatic, but they're going to be describing what is in front of us, so it will be an immersive experience for not just our persons with autism who can't understand too well, but understand visuals very well, but also for our visual and blind persons. Okay. So that they will be able to see what is in front of them. So we're going to go through that whole experience, spend a little time in front of the Blessed Sacrament, take turns, and bring them back around. And then some of our volunteers will stay till 4. So that in this, we have Mass at 10. So by about 12, most of us should be finished. But we want to have some space if someone, for families who don't want to handle being there with the group, so that they will have an opportunity to still be there till about 4 o'clock. So we have the church booked from about 9, because Mass starts at 10, till 4.
So I'm curious now I've been to a few of them, but what, for those of our viewers who are not too sure, what does a sensory-friendly Mass look and feel like?
Right. So some people think it's chaotic because our persons are just walking all over when they first come. But what we do is, first of all, we tell persons who are coming not to wear perfumes. So that eliminates that whole sense of smell, which really triggers a lot of our persons. We tend to choose churches that are a little more closer, smaller churches. We use the front of the church as compared to the whole church. Actually, Assumption probably be the first time we're going to a big church. So,
I was about to say, Assumption's not a small church.
We're wait to see what's going to happen there. But we close the doors. So we choose the churches that also are air-conditioned, so it is actually cool. It's not cold, but it's cool. We don't put on all the lights. Our Mass is a full sit-down Mass. There's no stand-up, sit-down, kneel-down. Jamie Rich is sit down. We tell our priest the homily has between 5 and 7 minutes. That's actually the hardest challenge. No passion our priests, but so the Mass itself takes about 30 to 40 minutes maximum. Communion is brought to persons rather than us taking the line and going up in the aisle to receive communion. We tend to have shorter songs. Many times we don't even have a choir. For Assumption, we're going to have one person with a guitar singing softly with no microphones. Now, Father Martin has a very soft voice. He does, so he will have a microphone. But usually we don't use microphones because sometimes it has the echo and so on. So our Mass is 30 to 40 minutes, completely sit down in a sensory environment. We would walk, most of the times we walk with mats. Aruka is our biggest space, and we have more persons going to Aruka. So we tend to have an activity table for those who really can't make the whole focus.
And fidget toys.
Fidget toys, or the sensory toys, the adaptable stuff. And then communion is also brought to them. Because these kids would have also gone through our First Communion annual now confirmation program as well.
I'm really excited that you have a confirmation program because as my son also made First Communion late because again, just as you said, you know, I think it's important to say that especially with children on the spectrum, it's very idiosyncratic. And this is why we have to have these sort of blanket sort of, you know, scenarios so that no matter what that child is sensitive to, they can have that experience. And again, a short mass really is the key. I think we're looking at half an hour, and that is it.
Yes. You know, if it goes to 45 minutes, it's too long, and then we start having challenges.
Exactly.
But even our adapted First Communion and Confirmation program, it's like 15 sessions.
Fantastic.
So that's 3 months for the most.
Yeah.
We use puzzles and pictures, we storyboards. We try to visualize it more than writing words.
Right.
With confirmation, they have to at least write that letter.
Yes.
But we have a template, so even if it is they have to do a thumbprint, that's fine. Because we did have a couple adults who gave us a thumbprint at our last program, because we also had a couple of children who were in wheelchairs, specialized wheelchairs, you know, so they can't write, so it's thumbprint.
So this actually leads me to the next question. How do the kids respond to the Mass and all of these programs themselves? You know, do you feel like they understand that Christ is there with them? Do they have experiences?
I want to draw one example. A child who had cerebral palsy and other combined disabilities. He was 17 years old when he passed away, but he did the First Communion program with us. When I met him, I thought he was maybe 3 years. To realize at that time he was 10. He was the length of his mother's arm, and she would hold him like this for the whole time. So when I told her to bring him, and he has stiff body, so he's really stiff like this. So I told her to bring him to the First Communion program. She said, okay, and then she called me the morning of the first class to say, you know, I don't think this makes sense, because he's not going to learn anything. I said, here's what, bring him, and your faith is what will see him through. So I say that to parents.
That's beautiful.
Your faith, he's baptized, they are deserving, they have the right as well. When that child came, he was kind of looking around, but he can't, there's no expression, so he's there. And I remember the day I'm talking about communion is not the same as food. And we have puzzles to show that. And when I said food, he did this. And I was like, wait, are you paying attention? You know what's going on here? And I realized that his eyes just lit up. He can't smile because he doesn't have muscles to smile, right? And it was like, okay. And then we realized that he was following and he was trying to look, and he's seen the eyes going this way. So we eventually started putting the puzzle pieces and putting his arm so he would push the puzzle pieces into place. And he was like, oh, you see the eyes lighting up. When he actually received communion for the first time, Father Martin gave him, Father Vento was at his side. That child smiled for the first time. His mother almost...
That's a miracle.
I think so.
It is.
Father Martin jumped, Father Vento jumped, I jumped because we were all around, because we saw that child totally, his body just changed, and you saw the glow take over him, and he smiled. The mother said he'd never smiled before, right? Smile, like smile straight across. And the muscles it takes to smile, it's about 100 muscles. So you can imagine that would have been physically challenging for him.
And it was organic.
It was organic.
It's incredible.
And afterwards, we were all like, did we see that? You know? And when that child died eventually at 17, the mother told me at least he made First Communion and he has Jesus with him. And that experience, I think, will go with me for the rest of my life.
That is incredible. What a testimony of love and the Eucharist. And as we have the Eucharistic Congress coming up in May, I think that it's important to actually say that everybody, once you have life, you are a gift from God, and you are deserving to receive God.
Yes.
Saira, you do incredible work. Congratulations.
It's God's work. And, you know, I recognize that God gave me this child for a purpose and a reason. I know I don't have a degree. I'm not qualified in any way. But he has given me this child, and I see all the work of Bethesda just unfolding before me. You know, like almost every time I'm praying, God, what's going to happen? How are we going to start this respite center? And I found out yesterday at the Japanese embassy, someone is talking to the Japanese embassy, wants to support us with some infrastructure work. That's what they do, infrastructure work. So we're going to send in a grant for them. I'm like, so yesterday I'm praying, but we really need to do this. And then to hear that, okay, we can get a grant from the Japanese embassy, specifically on infrastructure. I'm like, okay, all right, something
God
can
is
happen.
at work.
You know, so, I mean, I'm not saying that they will. I'm throwing it out there, putting it into faith, but things will happen. You know, even with talking to Sister Debbie about what I want to do and so on, because I mean, she's someone who's open. And
yes,
she's
very much so.
Childhood friend of my mom. She and my aunt were in high school together, so they have been good friends. Yeah. So she always sees me away.
And she's a force.
She's a force.
So really
we started chatting with her. She immediately said, well, okay, yes. So we have the Catholic Bible Institute as our registered mailing address. And we have use of the space at Etta's house through them. You know, so I'm seeing that things are falling into place, and I haven't done a thing other than pray. You
are doing God's work in His vineyard. Amen to that. Yes, no, you've shared some stories of hope, and that is a miracle.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.
It really is, and especially for. Now, April is also the month for mental health awareness, and we both know that being a parent or even a caregiver of somebody who with special needs, the amount of resilience you need.
Yes.
So hope and faith are so paramount to that.
To the journey, yes.
So again, sharing these stories,
it's amazing.
That's incredible.
So one of the things I want to also say is that Disabilities has no bias. So from our very first Mass at that Bishop House, we had a Muslim family and a Hindu family. And at all of our activities, even Mass, we have persons who are not Roman Catholic coming to our events. So I just want to throw it out there as well. If anyone has a person with a disability and wants to come and make use of our support, you are certainly welcome.
And that is the spirit of Jesus, totally.
Amen, yes.
Total inclusivity.
Yes.
Especially for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. We're so multicultural. It doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
You come. You are welcome.
Yes.
You know, Saira, thank you so much for being with us here today. You have given me a lot of hope.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank
tremendous.
You so much.
And the work you do is tremendous.
Thank you.
I know it's not an easy thing, having a special needs child. No. You know, but we're here to support and encourage each other. And we're in a lot of shared chats. I see you constantly advocating and promoting and sharing. And I want to say congratulations.
Thank you so
You are
much.
doing amazing work, and you are doing God's work.
I'm doing God's work, and I'm just a humble, willing vessel.
How can anybody interested contact you and the Bethesda community?
Okay. So we do have a Facebook page and an Instagram page so that they can contact us that way. Bethesda Catholic Community on Facebook, Bethesda for Persons with Disabilities on Instagram, as well as our email address is Bethesda for Persons with Disabilities or Bethesda for PWDs. And I'm hoping that maybe the ticket tape would have shown the number. Charlene Villalva Gittins is helping us with the pilgrimage. And of course, through Family Life Commission. Oh, before I go, I must say the support of Family Life Commission is amazing. And it allows us that wood to pull up the laces on. So certainly if we didn't have Family Life Commission, we would not have achieved what we have achieved in the church so far. So thanks to Family Life Commission.
You know, I have to say one thing about the Archdiocese, and you've just kind of hinted it there, the kind of community.
It is a community.
And the kind of support that is available is actually quite incredible.
Oh, yes.
And if anybody is struggling, please contact Saira at the Bethesda community or the Archdiocese Family Life Commission. Both on Facebook. We're here to support you. Saira, thank you so much for your amazing work and journeying with us, giving all of us hope in this time.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
The dignity that you have given these children. You're in heaven, Saira. Don't worry. You're in heaven on earth. That's how I see it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It has been a great pleasure bringing hope and joy today. And make sure to tune in next time to our Pilgrimage of Hope. Thank you.
If you can raise your eyes to the horizons of renewal and restoration, if you can open your ears to the voice of the Beloved, who calls you to hope and not despair, if you can reach out and forgive, heal and restore in spite of the hurt and darkness, then you will realize a jubilee of hope and restoration for our world. And you would have made a journey of hope. Come join us in this pilgrimage of hope. as it becomes a reality in the life of the church. And truly, it will be a jubilee to celebrate.